És megyünk is tovább, egy igazán digitális állam irányába. Egy pár tényt mondanék el a digitális Észtországról, néhány jellemzőt. Ingyenes wifi az egész országban, online adóbevallás és szavazás, papírmentes parlament, digitális gyógyszerreceptek, és osztálynapló, digitális tartózkodási engedély, támogatott sharing economy és programozás, oktatás 7 éves kortól. Kicsit ilyen skifinek tűnik, bevallom, először nekem is annak tűnt, hogy van ilyen állam a világon. Ezek a hozzávalói az eredmények, és a tervek pedig még ennél is izgalmasabbak, ugyanis a 3 milliós Észtország 2025-re 10 milliós lakosságot vár, persze nagy részüket csak digitális állampolgárként bevonva. Hogy hogyan is van ez, és hogyan is működik az Észtországban, erről az észtországi parlamentből, reformpártból érkező Mr. Kalle fog nekünk egy előadást tartani. Az előadás nyelve angol, tolmácsolás nincs. Kérlek, fogadjátok szeretettel. Mr. Kalle, the stage is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted and honored to be here today. Unfortunately, I will not speak in your native language. I will have my speech in English. And thanks once again for your institution for inviting me here. So, in this session, I will focus on the Estonian experience of how complex governmental reforms and our plans for the future. I will be sharing the details of the decisions leading to present-day success and fast growth of the economy of the country. By the way, we believe that the models which used to kickstart the country in early 90s can be the great value for economies worldwide. These reforms became supported and developed by the adoption of modern ICT solutions. No other nation has had the opportunity to courage to reform their country on an electronic level to such an extent. This combination gave the country a developmental boost after the country regained independence almost 25 years ago. These reforms took Estonia from a country with a collapsed economy in the beginning of the 90s to one of the leading e-societies in the world. Since Estonia regained independence, the country's GDP has risen some 7 times. Some theorize that a third of that may be due to minimizing transaction costs and inefficiency in the society through ICT solutions and building up the IT literacy and awareness in the society. We are often asked, what is the main industry in Estonia? Interestingly, there is none. Machine building, ICT, and forestry are big sectors, but no one sector is dominant. In some ways, this is our strength and weakness at the same time. From one side, we are not depending on one sector only and vulnerable to collapse like Finland had with Nokia. From the other side, I, as liberal, do believe that the government cannot really build up an economic policy to boost a specific sector with taxes or very focused investments. All that the governments can really do is to build an environment which enables better business for any sector, from IT to agriculture. Estonian country e-infrastructure is based on many parallel initiatives that all need to be executed. Otherwise, the full picture will not start to work and you will not get the societal effect. The first one is legal infrastructure. The second, and the most important, is unique technological backbone, secure data exchange highway, X-road, shared by all public bodies and the private sector, such as banks. Global access to services, use it from everywhere any and from any device. Easy to use electronic identities and electronic signatures, and we call it e-ID. First of all, we are using non-duplicating ICT solutions where ministries operate and share data and no system has a duplicate. We call it the once-only principle. Second, our government's data model is described on a legislative level. Legislative acts determine what data and where is gathered across the whole government. We believe that we should open data as much as possible to enable public and private sector to make better decisions, be more efficient and more innovative. However, we build strong technological and legal safeguards to make sure that the system cannot be abused, if you probably would like to ask about data protection. Third, the building of this infrastructure is relying on a unique collaboration and coordination between the public and private sectors. E-transformation in any country is a social and behavioral change. I believe that these large behavioral changes in the society, like the adoption of e-identity, cannot be driven by the public sector alone. The involvement of private sector is instrumental, as they are providing the majority of the services that people use every day. The key is building infrastructure that the private sector will find useful and will start to push their customers as well. For example, the first push, and we call it killer application in Estonia, which started people using more ID, was done by banks. Banks didn't trust code cards and PIN calculators anymore, and if you wanted to do bigger transaction in one day than 200 euros, you had to log in with using e-identity. So, the key is building infrastructure that the key drivers will be banks, telecoms, and utilities. We are building the next generation infrastructure so that our companies could build better and more efficient business, and all our people could have better and easier lives. In Estonia, we would soon have this principle. Unless something very specific happens to you, you are able, it's not mandatory, but you are able to live your life from birth to death without ever having to meet a government official. The only exception is when you collect your passport and electronic identity. In our approach, the interests and peculiarities of all sectors, government, business, and civic, get factored in. It's an integrated, holistic approach that includes legal infrastructure and policy change, administrative capacity building, and lastly, IT infrastructure is the only thing that can work. E-government reforms based only on IT solutions alone will fail. Many countries already know it and admit it to us. So there is no use of super-fast internet, high-speed broadband if you don't have services which you can provide to your own citizen. So we believe that a client citizen, I gave an interview for your one newspaper a few days ago, and I compared our states like a big company, like a bank, for example, that our citizens are our clients and we must provide the best services that we can to our own citizens. And so we believe that the client citizen with a digital identity will have a higher standard of living, pay more taxes, and be more productive and creative. The government is there to assist him so that things in life just work and create an environment for companies for a more seamless way of operating. And of course, we haven't stopped there. Everybody knows Moore's law, which states that overall processing power for computers will double every 2 years. And the only way to keep out of outdated technology trap is to keep innovating. Estonia's next big thing is e-residency. After developing efficient and unique technological state infrastructure, we realized this is something that we can export. Estonia offers to every world citizen a government-issued digital identity and the opportunity to run a trusted company online, unleashing the world's entrepreneurial potential. Estonia is the first country in history to offer e-residency and transnational digital identity available to anyone in the world interested in administrating a location-independent business online. E-residency additionally enables secure and convenient digital services that facilitate credibility and trust online. E-residents can digitally sign documents and contracts, verify the authenticity of signed documents, establish an Estonian company online, administer the company from anywhere in the world, conduct e-banking and remote money transfers, and of course, declare Estonian taxes online. So we now have more than 2,600 different e-services that we provide to all of our citizens, and when you will become an e-Estonian, apply for e-residency, you could use these 2,600 services as easily as we do. So we launched e-residency on 1st December 2014. Until now, 10,000 people from 128 countries have applied for e-ID. At the same time, e-residents have already established 400 new companies in Estonia, and there are in total 800 or almost 900 companies connected with owned e-residents. It doesn't matter if you are stationed in San Francisco, Hong Kong, Singapore, or Cape Town. Estonia offers you a simple and hassle-free option to remotely open your European Union subsidiary. Living actively in the information society has become part of our national identity. This is also one way to broaden the perspective how we see our future concept of citizenship in a borderless world. Information doesn't know borders. Our vision is to offer every world citizen a hassle-free way to run a trusted company online. Then Estonia could be a community of 10 million e-residents by 2020. And as I already said, you can too become an e-Estonian. And as you probably understand already, we are ambitious in ICT field. Our vision is that Estonia would be a prime place to create and test new innovating ICT solutions for the world. Saying that, and now you also know where Estonia comes from and where we are heading, also defines the essence why we choose not to be hostile or indifferent towards the sharing economy. In 2013, by the estimates of PricewaterhouseCoopers, the 5 main sharing economy sectors generate $50 billion in global revenues. However, by 2025, these same 5 sharing economy sectors could generate a potential revenue opportunity worth $335 billion. We in Estonia decided that we can't ignore the sector which is growing 22 times over the course of a dozen years. We definitely want to have a piece of these 335 billion overall. We cannot turn off the internet. The sharing economy is here to stay, and new economy needs new regulations, rules that work in today's world. The core driving factor of sharing economy is that the same technology allows us to capitalize previously underutilized capital. our own apartments for Airbnb, our own cars for Uber. It's a massive engine to increase efficiency. It's a business revolution, but it also has the potential to be an environmental and economic one. Environmental aspects are relevant, especially if you think about the limited resources and growing world population. For example, in European Union, everybody knows that European energy policy is actually European climate policy, and everybody knows that European transportation policy is actually European climate policy. So we have put a lot of effort to produce biofuels from grain. We have done a lot of effort to make the emissions lower in diesel cars, but unfortunately we haven't been so successful in it. And so on and so on. But nobody has talked about how about we get cars out of streets, or at least some number, or let's say 10% of cars, 20% of cars out of streets because of people, because we could actually connect people to use sharing economy and share their rights. Technology lets you get a car or an apartment in under 5 minutes that it's better, safer, and more accountable and trackable than a taxi or a hotel room that you need. Why not to adapt regulations that allow someone to put their car or apartment on such platforms in one day, as opposed to 3 months or in some countries, not at all. However, existing regulatory frameworks don't ban Uber or Airbnb, but they make it as hard to run sharing economy services as it is to run Skype on MS-DOS. It is just suboptimal. The goal of regulation is to continue guaranteeing public safety, consumer choice, while becoming frictionless and as the technology-driven services can be. Estonia has introduced a draft legislation, and I'm the responsible MP in the Parliament for that, that would regulate ride-sharing platforms such as Uber or an Estonian company, Taxify, for the first time in Europe. The Estonian ride-sharing bill defines ride-sharing services as pre-arranged services. It states that ride-sharing is not public transportation, nor it is taxi service. Provider needs to utilize an electronic system, and the quality of the service is guaranteed by instant customer feedback. And since competition rises, the quality bar we can reduce, and since the competition rises the quality bar, we can reduce state regulation for taxi sector as well. And this is the key factor. It is a simple approach which gives quality without government interference. If well regulated, we stand much to gain from the growth of these platforms. Some people think this is a matter of new services like Uber disrupting traditional services like taxis. I disagree. This is not about ride-sharing versus taxi. It's about ride-sharing versus private cars. For example, in Estonia, we made a study. We had 3,000 answers, and 47% said that if ride-sharing is developing in Estonia, we will consider selling our family's second car. So think about that, how many cars we usually have, and if we can save our money by having 2 cars in the family, then it would help a lot. Today, 4/5 of all journeys taken in Estonia happen in a car. Our car ownership rate is growing quickly, and the average Estonian family now spends 12% of their income every month just on transportation. Public transit is important, and we should be exploring programs to develop a more efficient public transport scheme. For example, in Tallinn we have free public transportation for the residents of Tallinn, but still it hasn't helped too much. Here we have ride sharing, which can help too. The technology behind these apps can match two people going in the same direction, who can share a ride and the cost. The ultimate vision is more people using fewer cars, and fewer people needing to buy a car to begin with. This is good for the environment. It can reduce congestion and can lower the cost of living. Platforms like Uber, Taxify, and WiseMile, which the last two are Estonian companies already, can also benefit the government's balance sheets by bringing economic activity that was previously done off the books into the digital world where everything can be traced. Estonia is already a leader on simple electronic tax fillings, as I mentioned before. Estonian Tax and Custom Boards announced a partnership with Uber to collaborate on a new e-tax system that would simplify the process of declaring taxes for people using these new platforms for work. In fact, in February, Estonia became the first country in the world, again, where Uber drivers opted into voluntarily share their taxes-related information and declared their taxes electronically. So I have understood that the sharing economy is based on individual level, and these individuals who take part or participate in the sharing economy communities. So the platforms like Uber or Airbnb, for example, must communicate with states and make the payments of the taxes and following all the rules as simple as possible for these individuals who would like to put their car on Uber or put their apartment to rent on Airbnb. We started with it in Estonia, and we are doing really good. And as I mentioned, in our experience, people pay taxes when it's fair and simple. The pilot with Uber was successful. A respectable amount of their partner drivers declared their taxes automatically on a voluntary basis. And the head of our tax office insists that the specific number is not even important. The bottom line is that this approach works. Simplicity works. And besides, there is practically nothing to lose. Cash-based taxes sector is not known as tax compliant, or somebody would disagree. The experience gained of this cooperation with Uber is not to be expanded to other sharing economy and e-commerce platforms, is now to be expanded. And we even went one step further. Recently, the head of Estonian tax office offered in a meeting with Uber Vice President that Estonia can provide electronic tax platform for Uber drivers globally. So if here in Budapest you have a problem with Uber because you don't collect their taxes, please, we are ready. This is just 1 month of ICT development, and we will collect these taxes according to your tax level, and we will just pay it for free for the government of Hungary. So not to be worried about that somebody will not pay their taxes. If you make it simple, it can be done globally on the same platform. It's easy. It's just the only thing that we have to change in Excel is the rate of the income tax for the individuals who earn extra in such platforms like Uber. So I think that there is actually no problem with that. All in all, the business model of sharing economy do not just mean better competition and better service level, but we see it also as a part of potential solution to Estonia's sparse population issue and to encourage a lot more people to become entrepreneurs. So this is the main problem for all the society. People, just 3 minutes, people don't want to start being entrepreneurs, and people are actually looking for these flexible ways of earning extra next to going to university or so on. So our goal is to create rules that work in today's world. The legislation would ensure digital platforms and given clear rules on how they can operate in Estonia. Reduce people's need to their own private car, create smarter ways to organize our cities, generate new economic opportunities for thousands of Estonians and ensure Estonia continuing to lead Europe in digital implementation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've spoke a lot already, but I have just a few more remarks. We are working hard to be an attractive business and investment climate. One thing that we are putting into practice is services that find entrepreneurs and citizens at the right time. The old notion is that companies and citizens should understand how government works. What we can learn from the successful private companies is that they have made it incredibly easy to consume their services, thereby attracting new and retaining existing customers. So if governments usually want to do it this way, that people must learn how they work, then banks and telecoms usually make it very easy for the customers, and then customers just consume their services and they don't know what happens in the back office, and they don't have to know. It's the same with the states actually. I don't have to know how the state works. For me it's important that it is simple and I can do my main business, educate my children and do my business globally. So the biggest challenge for any country in the globalizing world of the 21st century is how to get other people to pay for the welfare of your own citizens. How to encourage and entice people from across the globe to come and do their business and pay their taxes to your country. This is where the good governance, which becomes to ICT, and smart country infrastructure comes in, creating a seamless society where everything just works. I really encourage Hungary to be on the positive side of history alongside with Estonia. Let us change the Europe together. And as Steve Jobs have once said, let's go and invent tomorrow instead of worrying about what happened yesterday. Thank you very much for your attention.